I wanted to talk about how an optimal diet, an optimal way of eating will look different from person to person based on our bio-individual needs. So the carnivore diet is incredible because it's simple. Eat meat. And for a lot of people, that's enough. Just eat meat and cut out the rest. For a lot of people, that's enough to clear up the noise, to become leptin sensitive. Leptin is your satiety hormone. It's enough to reverse insulin resistance. It's enough to heal and seal the gut. It's enough to burn fat. And all of these things are amazing. But then we have a large subset of people, I was one of them, who need a more bio-individual approach. So for me, in case you haven't already heard, I tried the carnivore diet 8 times. I should say the lion diet. I tried just beef, salt, and water 8 times, and I got worse each time. I felt worse each time. And it wasn't just in my head. I was having severe histamine reactions. I already had mast cell activation syndrome. And the beef, salt, and water, I mean, it was just horrible for me. And so I just kept telling myself okay, I guess carnivore is not for me, because I really wanted to do it at a time that I was sick of my autoimmune stuff. I just wanted to thrive and be free from this stuff that I had uncovered after getting with functional medicine doctors. And it was just compiling, and it didn't work for me. And so I got into the keto treats, developed a binge eating disorder. I was 69 pounds at 5'6", with a chronic CDiff infection that almost took my life. I couldn't gain weight to save my life. And so at that point, I was so triggered by being so emaciated that I was binging on the keto treats. And I just felt so stuck. I had people telling me, just eat the standard American diet. You can eat as much as you want. Horrible advice. Please don't tell that to someone who needs to gain weight. Would you give someone poison because they had to gain weight? Because that's literally what you're recommending. When you're recommending seed oils and chemicals and processed food, a lot of that is poison, especially in America. Man, that's just a whole nother video right there. America's standards on food. So anyways, I felt really stuck. And my breakthrough was when I discovered that the carnivore diet doesn't have to be just beef, salt, and water. Hi, Moose. Hi. Yes, thank you. It doesn't have to be just beef, salt, and water. In my 3rd consecutive emergency room, I was told that I had to remove my colon and be hooked up to a feeding tube. And that is when I surrendered everything to God. I surrendered even the ketogenic diet, which was my sense of control, even though it wasn't helping me. And in that moment, I received wisdom and understanding, and it clicked. I don't have to do just beef, salt, and water. So I allowed myself to eat any animal food. I had dairy. I even allowed myself stevia in the first 2 months, and then I cut those out after the first 2 months because my priority was to gain weight over anything else. So to make it hyper palatable enough, I allowed myself dairy and stevia. I didn't touch steak for at least 6 months because steak was way too filling for me, so I focused on ground meats, and I discovered Billy Doe meats. Billy Doe meats is, they're based out of Hoffman Estates, Illinois, about 30 minutes from where I live. I found them on eatwild.com, just typing in my zip code, looking for local farmers, and they are non-aged. It's halal, holistically raised, non-aged meat, and they specialize in goat and lamb and veal. They also have beef and pork, but their lamb was not just a game changer, it was a lifesaver for me. Moose, what are you doing? There's not a mouse over there. No. This non-aged meat was not only not giving me histamine reactions anymore, but it was fatty enough that I didn't have to add additional fat to keep my high fat ratio, which I absolutely needed in the beginning of my journey. And that's another bio-individual thing, which I'll talk about. And it was delicious. Billy Doe Meats is so good. This is 90% of what I serve at my retreats because I want the retreat experience to be luxurious, and it is luxurious. Eating Billy Doe Meats is the best. They have things like goat ribs, which are so, the fat on the goat meat, on the ribs especially, tastes buttery. So I like to sear those and make them crispy on the outside. They have lamb shank. They have neck roasts, which are absolutely so incredible. They're always such a hit at my retreats. They have bone-in lamb shoulders, so flavorful. That type of thing, you get all of that delicious, the drippings on the bottom of the pan that are just so flavorful. Any type of bone-in cut from Billy Doe meats will just make me weak in the knees. It's so good. Sweetbreads, which is the thymus or pancreas gland. Those are delicious and so good for you. Rich in the Dow enzyme and vitamin C. Billy Doe meats is awesome. Oh, their lamb chops, of course. Their lamb chops have a fat cap that's about this thick. And that fat on the lamb is so much more edible than the fat on a ribeye steak, in my opinion. And in the opinion of, honestly speaking, 65 to 70% of my clients verbally communicate to me what I just said. They verbally communicate that I've never been able to eat the fat on meat, but then I found Billy Doe meats and this fat is delicious. It's true. The lamb fat is it's so good, but it's not rubbery and it's not slimy like other types of fats connected to meat. It just kind of dissolves in your mouth and it's incredible. It's heavenly and it's so good for you. It's richer in omega-3s than wild-caught salmon. It is rich in conjugated linoleic acid. It's rich in stearic acid. So Billy Doe was a game changer. Other things that will make your journey bio-individual, the fat to protein ratio. So in the beginning of my journey, I was dealing with non-epileptic seizures. I obviously had to get out of fight or flight mode. I was 69 pounds and I didn't have any body fat to run on, so I needed enough dietary fat to get my body into that supported place. But that'll differ from person to person. You know, someone could be coming from keto, is already fat adapted, and has extra fat that they want to burn. So for that person, you could do 3 days of protein sparing modified fasts. You could do a 1-to-1 fat to protein ratio, which is perfectly good to lose weight on if you're hormonally healthy. And it also depends on your energy levels, depends on your hormonal health, your thyroid. If I'm working with a woman who is taking medication for hypothyroidism, I am not going to recommend a lower fat carnivore diet, even if you want to lose weight. You must focus on your thyroid first. Focus on health and everything else will follow in terms of weight gain or loss. This is a weight optimization diet because you are focusing on health and supporting your body with the proper nutrients and enough of the right foods. And when you do that, you become leptin sensitive, your hormones heal, everything upregulates. Even your internal organs will heal. Like my internal organs had shrunk. I was so emaciated that they had actually shrunk and they were not functioning properly. But as I continued to heal, that was reversed. And so these are things that'll happen when you eat the right way. And I gained all the way up to 155 and then it just dropped right down to 125. I am back up at 155 now, closer to 150 actually. But I feel really good. I'm very strong, stronger than I've been in my entire life, which is amazing. I'm carrying a baby at almost 12 weeks. And I just listen to my body intuitively. And I've been sitting at this weight since our miscarriage in November. And I am really pleased with my body. I can look at myself in spring of last year and see that I had abs that were visible. I was very lean and I felt awesome. But I feel awesome now. And I still feel beautiful and strong and confident and comfortable in my own skin. And that's all that I care about. So the number doesn't matter. And I just love sharing that. There are other women, my friends on Instagram, who are really embracing just this higher number on the scale and realizing like we only have one life to live in this body. Why don't we focus on getting strong and healthy versus being lean? If my hormones make it so that I do get really lean again and I'm still really healthy, that's fantastic. But I don't think I'm ever going to try to get there. I never did try to get there in the first place. I was just focusing on health. So that's a little side note. Other things that will change from person to person, your electrolyte needs. Everyone needs like a bare minimum, but it will vary from person to person. And there are carnivores, as some of you may know, that don't consume any sodium. This blows my mind, like literally blows my mind. I don't understand it. I don't recommend it, especially for someone who's transitioning from high carbs to carnivore or keto. I personally need around 10 grams of sodium per day to function optimally. And the recommendation for someone on a low carb diet is between 2 and 5 grams of sodium per day. And that's just gonna vary from person to person. There's definitely an average that I see with my clients, but it varies for sure. Other things that will vary are what types of animal foods you can tolerate. Many people can do egg yolks and butter in the beginning, and many people cannot. And I want to give like a moment of silence for those people, because you are the ones who you need to be this strict right now. There are situations where if you have SIBO, it's probably not a good idea to have eggs and consume the sulfur. It could definitely cause issues. Some people react to butter. Even type 1 diabetics sometimes have to avoid butter because it can spike their blood sugar. Things that you would never imagine, that some people would never imagine. But that's actually where I was at. I didn't reintroduce egg yolks and butter until a year after eating just Billy Doe meats, salt and water. I wasn't even taking electrolytes. I was doing Billy Doe meats, salt and water. I didn't discover Redmond Relight or Equip Foods Prime Protein until well after my first year. I got my period back, and then I discovered the carnivore brownies. It went in that order. It was a great season. The types of foods will also vary. Some people can handle pork, no problem. Some people have an acute reaction to pork, and they're like immediately inflamed, feeling it the next morning or even right after the meal. Some people can do beef. Some people have to avoid it because of histamine, and they have to stick with Billy Doe meats. As Ken Berry describes it, there is a spectrum, and people lie on this spectrum. Some people over here need to be very strict carnivore. Some people do great with ketovore. Some people do well with a plant-based diet. Also don't understand that, but there are people who can get away with it and thrive. And I think that they have to be very particular with supplementing and stuff like that. And so those are just a couple of things that come to mind that you've got to think about. If you're hitting a plateau and you're just being told, just eat meat, sometimes that's not enough. And I just want to encourage you, if you feel like you're stuck, seek more data about yourself. Maybe get a glucometer and check out your blood sugars. Maybe start tracking your macros and being sure that you're actually getting enough. I have multiple videos on macro tracking, fat to protein ratio. I have a video on that, and those could be really helpful. But no, you shouldn't have to track your macros for your whole life, but this is a really valuable tool. What you measure, you can manage, and that's going to help you reach your goals. Some people can handle fruit. Some people can handle low carb, low oxalate vegetables. Some people really can't, for multiple reasons. Maybe it's not just their gut, but it's a mental thing. Maybe it's a trigger. Everyone has different triggers. And so, you know, I've worked with people who were triggered by ground beef. And it's not that ground beef is bad, it's that it was a stumbling block, which is rare. I must say that's pretty rare. It's hard to overeat meat, but everyone's different, and this is my point. And so this is why I love what I do, because I get to know my client very, very well before I make recommendations. I require an intake form, we have conversations, and that's why I also don't make stock meal plans, because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It really depends on what your goals are and what season you're in. So I hope that this helps someone. I hope that this encourages you. If you're in a slump or you're hitting a plateau, just know that your body is doing a great job for you. Your body is really trying. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it's about consistency and keeping your head down. There were days, many days in my 1 year of just Billy Doe, salt and water, where I woke up and I felt like I was going backwards. My body would be in pain, or I just didn't have as much energy, or my mood would be off. And that was very scary for me, because I was the type of person before to jump from one idea to the next. Like, I couldn't stick with something for more than 2 days. I was obsessed with getting it right. But once I had that experience in the emergency room where I really surrendered everything to God, it was more like, it's not my job to be perfect. My job is to do what I know is right and to do my best with what I'm given and to trust God with the rest. And so that's what I did. And sure enough, it worked. And then some. God is good, and you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Hi, you guys. So my fall retreat is more than halfway booked. I know that you guys may have already heard of it. We're going to have a dream team of special guests. We have Ken Berry, Maria Emmerich, Kelly Hogan, Neisha Berry, and Lisa Wiedemann. So we're all going to be together. This is going to be invaluable fellowship, breakthroughs, learning, eating the highest quality, best, most delicious meats like Billy Doe meats, North Star bison. I'm going to be making my carnivore treats, carnivore brownies, carnivore carrot cake, carnivore ice cream. And then of course we'll have Maria with us, so she's going to do some cooking with us. It's going to be so awesome. For those of you who don't do sweeteners, we will be with Emily Harveau and Kelly Hogan as well. They don't do sweeteners. Lisa doesn't do sweeteners. So we're going to have options for everyone. It's just going to be absolutely incredible. So we're in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, October 11th through 16th. This is when the fall colors are peaking. The weather is phenomenal. If you're interested, please email me directly at rebecca@tailoredketo.health. I'll send you the information. I'll send you an invoice when you're ready to pay. The only way to reserve your spot is with payment, and then you'll be locked in. I hope to see you there.